Hello everyone, I'm Anastasia. I welcome you all to this new session of Fundamental of Nursing. So in today's session, we are going to deal with a new unit that is documentation. In today's session, we are going to deal about what is recording, what is reporting, and what is the purpose of this recording and reporting for us nurses. This reporting and recording is the major communication technique which is used by the healthcare provider. Why? Because when they document, when they report, this reporting and recording is the main communication technique which is used by the healthcare professionals. Why? Because this documentation serves as a permanent record of the client as well as of the care whichever has been provided for the client. So through the use of this record, we can, refer or even review whenever required about the client's information or about the care which was provided to them. So this is about recording, right? So recording, as we know, that is the one which we will be writing it down, or we will be typing it in the computer and get it printed. So this is the one which will serve as a record of the client's information and the care, whereas reporting is the one which is usually done orally in order to share the information. This reporting usually takes place when two or more people share information about the client's treatment, about the client's care, about the client's disease condition, and this can either be done face to face or by the use of the electronic devices such as the telephone, even the mobile phone. So now let's move on to the definition of record. Here, record is a permanent written communication that documents the information which is relevant to the client healthcare management. So here, as I've said, that record is the one which is written or the one which has been printed, right? So this record is a permanent written communication that will, document all the information about the client that is, also relevant to their healthcare management. So the information of the client, the disease condition of the client, the treatment of the client, as well as the procedures, the diagnostic evaluation which was performed for the client will all be documented. So when all of this is done, this is known as a record. We have one more definition which states that a record is a clinical, scientific, as well as an administrative and a legal document which is related to the nursing care which was provided to the individual or to the client, to the family members, or even to the community. Now let's move on to the definition of report. So in record, we've seen that, it is a permanent written communication, right? That will contain all the information about the client. Whereas this report is known as an oral or a written exchange of information, which is usually done between two people or, with the other healthcare teams in a number of ways. So here you can share the information about the client either face to face, or you can share it through the use of telephone, mobile phones, or even through a written form. So again, this record is a permanent written communication which will consist all the information of the client, ranging from their name, their age, their sex, their gender, to their medical condition, to whatever treatment has been provided, as well as whatever diagnostic procedures which has been performed for the client. Whereas this report is the one which is performed, orally, or even sometimes through a written form whereby they will be communicating about the client's condition. This is usually done between the caregivers or the nurses who are in charge of that particular client, so that they will be able to share whatever they have done for the patient, like for example, whatever procedures that was required to be done, whatever medications that was supposed to be given. If the nurse shift has ended and the other nurse shift has started, so these two nurses will be communicating about what are the various things that has already been performed in order to prevent the repetition of it. Since now you know what record and report is, so what do you mean by documentation? Here, documentation is defined as a written evidence of the interaction which has occurred between and among the healthcare professionals, the client, the family members, as well as the healthcare organization. The administration of various tests, procedure, treatment, as well as the client education, as well as the result of the client response to the procedures, to the diagnostic test, as well as to the intervention which the nurse has performed for the client. So here documentation is the one which will serve as an evidence about the interaction which is occurred between the healthcare professionals, the client, the family members, as well as the healthcare organization. Not only that, but it also, documents all the tests, all the procedures, all the treatment and the client education which was performed for them, and also the results which the client have got from the various tests, from the various procedures which has been performed for them, as well as all the nursing intervention which the nurse herself has provided will also be documented. So whenever all these things are jotted down, this will serve as a written evidence. Okay, this will serve as a documentation about that particular client. What is the purpose of recording? Here there are several purposes why we should record everything that is done for the client, right? So here the first one is communication. So when you record something, it will be easy for you to remember, as well as it will be easy for you when you are sharing the information about the client with the other healthcare team members or with the other healthcare professionals. Why? Because everything will be written down, right? So here you will not be forgetting any point, or you will not be forgetting whatever is needed to be told. And also sometimes even without you sharing about the particular information, the other person who is going through their record will get an idea, right? Because why? Everything will be there. Suppose now if you haven't told the professional about a detailed history of that particular client, but through their record, that professional will be getting an idea, because why? Everything will be there, ranging from their name, their age, then to their physical examination which has been performed, then to their diagnosis, and to whatever test and the results as well. She will get an idea of all of it. Why? Because it will all be there in that record of the client. This recording also acts as a legal documentation. Why? Because it can be served as an evidence in the court of law. The third purpose is research. Why? Because it provides a valuable health-related data in order to conduct any research. And the fourth purpose is statistics. So this record also provides a statistical information that can be utilized in order to plan the people's future needs. The next one is education. How education? Because the students who are still studying for that particular field will be getting this record as an educational tool, whereby they can refer and they can learn about that particular disease condition. And the next one is the audit and quality assurance. Why? Because through recording, we will be able to monitor the quality of care which has been received by the patient, as well as the competence of the healthcare provider. And the next one is planning client care. So through the use of this record, the healthcare team members will be able to refer the data, and then they will be able to use this to plan a care for that particular client. And the next one is reimbursement. So here from the word itself, we can understand that reimbursement is the process of repaying whatever money has been lost or spent by that particular person, right? So here, this record will provide a baseline for the basis of making a decision of what care is to be provided in order to cover the health related expenses. So this is the purpose of recording. This is why this recording is very important. Why? Because it serves as a reimbursement, it serves as an educational tool. It also helps us to monitor the quality of care which has been provided for the client. Not only that, but it also helps in planning the client care. It helps in research. It also serves as a legal document in court, as well as it helps communication which will be happening between the healthcare members in order to plan a good quality care for the client. So now let's move on to the purpose of recording and reporting. So as we know that this recording and reporting is somewhat similar, right? It says that reporting can be done orally as well, but recording has a record of whatever has been done for the client, right? This is why I have separately dealt about the purpose of the recording, so that you guys get a clear idea of what is the difference. Okay, now let's move on to the next, that is the purpose of recording and reporting. So the first one here is communication. So here this recording and reporting serves as a good tool of communication between the healthcare professionals. Why? Because everything will be present there, everything, all the procedures, all the management, all the treatment, all the tests which you have performed for the client, right, will be present. So this is one of the major communication tool which you will be using in the healthcare settings, right? So through this record, you will be able to plan for the continuity of care. You will be able to make any modification which is required for the client, as well as you will be able to communicate what are the concerns, what are the requests, as well as what is the health status of that particular client. And the second one here is again reimbursement. So as I've said, that reimbursement means to repay back the money that the client has spent or has lost, right? So here, when you are recording and when you are, reporting whatever techniques, procedures has been done for the client, the reimbursement from the medical agency can be done for the client care. Why? Because here this cause awareness has increased the emphasis on what care is necessary and what care is not to be done. The next one here is education. So as I've told that this, record serves as an educational tool for the students who are studying in the medical field. Why? Because through this record, they will be able to review as well as get an idea about the disease condition, as well as the procedures and the treatment which we will be providing for the particular client who is suffering from that disease condition. Not only that, but these record can also frequently provide data for care studies. The next is the legal accountability. So here the client record is a legal documentation and is usually served as an evidence in the court of law, especially if it is a medical legal case. Why? Because if anything had happened to the client, then this record will safeguard the nurses, the doctors, as well as the hospital. That is why this record should document the client at risk as well as the safety measures which has been implemented for that particular client. The next one here is the assessment. So here the nurse as well as the other healthcare team members gather the assessment data of the client from their record. So how do they do this? They do this by studying the client's history, the initial, assessment which has been done for them. And also by comparing this data with their additional subjective as well as the objective data that has been obtained from them, and then their current health status as well as their progress of the client towards their goal can be determined. So this, as I've said, that this record also serve as an assessment tool. Okay, so here the nurses and the healthcare professionals will usually gather the assessment data from the record of the client. So when they do so, they get to study about the client's history, their initial assessment which was being performed, and then they will also be comparing this additional data with their subjective as well as the objective data, so that they get a clear idea of what are the goals to be attained, what is the current health status of the client, as well as what is the progress of the client health status towards their goal. The next one is planning. So here what the nurse does is that the nurse uses these baseline and the ongoing data in order to plan for the care of the client. The next purpose is research. So here these records serve as a reference material for the research work. These nursing research results in the new approaches to the client care as well as in order to increase the professional knowledge. This record also serves as a historical document. So here, as I've said, that this record is a permanent written documentation, right? So this record will always be present. All the information of the client will always be present. So even if you need to refer about this particular record 3 years from now, you will be able to do so. The next one is equality assurance. So here, through the use of this record, we will be able to determine that whether the amount of care, whether the quality of care which was provided to the client is efficient or not, and whether the client has been able to, attain the goals which was formulated for them or not. The next purpose is audit. So here this audit means the review of the record. So what happens is that this auditor will be reviewing the records of the client. The next purpose of this recording and reporting is to assess the vital statistics, which means to get an idea about especially the morbidity and the mortality rate of that particular year or of that particular month or because of that particular disease condition. Also, the next purpose of this recording and reporting is the diagnostic and the therapeutic orders. So here, whatever tests, whatever procedures which was ordered by the physician in order to be performed for that particular client, this will be recorded, right? So here we will get an idea that whatever test or whatever procedures which has been ordered has been implemented for that particular client or not. This record and report also helps in the healthcare services planning. And the last one here is accrediting and licensing. So as we know that record keeping is a basis of good patient care, right? So thus it should be an integral to all the practices. So these are the purpose of reporting and recording. So now we have come to the end of this topic. So in today's session, we have discussed about reports, records, as well as documentation. We've separately also discussed about the purpose of record. And as I've said that this record and report is somewhat similar, then at the end, we've also discussed about the purpose of record and report together. Now, I hope you guys have got a clear understanding of this topic. I'll be meeting you guys in another session whereby we will be discussing about the importance of this record and report for us nurses. So until then, have a good day. Thank you.